Are you seeking fulfillment for your life? Do you want freedom from fear? That's why we're here. Welcome to Jesus 101, introducing you to the real Jesus. And now, here's your host, Elizabeth Talbot.
Welcome to Jesus 101. I'm Elizabeth Talbot. I'm excited that you are with us. We continue our series, The Battle is the Lord's. And today we're going to be discussing the battle of resources. When we go to the wrong places for help, because, we don't know what to do with this battle. And so sometimes it's a little scary and we go to the wrong places for resources. And to help us with this battle today, we have Pastor Massiel.
Hello, Elizabeth.
How are you?
I'm doing so good.
Yeah.
This is going to be an exciting battle.
Yeah.
One that's a little bit unknown, a little bit less known that we can really dig into
until we
here.
get to a prophecy that is very known in the middle of this battle.
In the middle of what seems to be lost causes here.
Yes, and it's interesting because sometimes we face crisis that we're looking for resources. I mean, I remember, and I always talk about when my parents got cancer, and I want to start today, instead of starting with our drawing, because I'm going to bring the drawing later, but because the drawing doesn't make any sense until you know the story, I'm going to bring a different picture to show you. Are we ready?
Yes.
All right. So this picture is very dear to me, and it's a picture that my aunt gave my mom when she was diagnosed with cancer. My mom was diagnosed with cancer. We didn't know which doctors would be best for her type of cancer, all kinds of things. We're in the middle of that. And my aunt walks in with this picture. And this is an actual photo. If you go to YouTube and put the lighthouse and the storm and all of that, you might see the actual video of this. There was a huge storm in the ocean, and the the lighthouse started, being in danger. And there is one person in the door here looking out to see if somebody's going to rescue him. And eventually, a helicopter came and rescued because the lighthouse definitely could be destroyed. But this picture has a verse, and the verse at the bottom says is Psalm 18. The Lord is my rock, my fortress, my deliverer, my God is my rock in whom I take refuge. And it reminded me of my favorite verse when I was a little girl was Psalm 46. Our God is our refuge and strength, an ever-present help in time of trouble. And we definitely needed help because this was uncharted territory and we needed to know what resources we had, etc. And this picture reminded us that the main resource was the presence of God with us. And I absolutely love this picture. Thank you for helping me hold it because it's heavy. And of course, it has a lot of meaning for me, obviously. And we are going to have a crisis. Most battles in the Bible are some kind of crisis.
Right.
And if you're in a crisis today, you are a candidate for a miracle because God did a lot of miracles in the middle of the crisis.
In a crisis, and for somebody who doesn't seem to deserve it, right? Because we see a pattern that we repeat here in Chronicles, and Isaiah is where we'll be looking
at it. And perhaps you will really be able to connect with this story because maybe you are in the middle of a crisis and are needing help. You don't know where to go. The plans are failing. Where do you find resources, right? Well, we are going to go to Isaiah 7, but before we do, we're going to go to the historical books. You know that 2 Kings, 2 Chronicles kind of tell the same story that we're going to study in Isaiah. A great study someday, if you really want to go deep, is to take the historical books, 1st and 2nd Kings, 1st and 2nd Chronicles, and then go to the prophets that are mentioned in 1st and 2nd Kings and 1st and 2nd Chronicles in some of the chapters, and study the perspective from the prophet's view. Because see, the Bible is not in chronological order, it's in genre, right? So we have the law, then we have all the historical books, then we have poetic books, the Psalms and the Proverbs, then we have all the prophets. But that doesn't mean that they happen in that order. So the prophets, actually, many of them are here in this Second Chronicles, Second Kings time.
Yes.
And so
you can be reading and go, wait a minute, I read that.
I just
Where
read
is
that over
this?
there.
Yeah.
And yes, because it's from different perspectives. And when we get to Isaiah, the prophet, he's telling the same story that we find here in Second Chronicles and in Second Kings, right? So I want to show you something. This is a beautiful Bible that was given to me in Andrews University. And I am so thankful that they gave me this Bible. It's a beautiful Bible.
Beautiful.
And they have some charts. It's a study Bible. So it's interesting because in this case, they have decline and revival, and then they have which king was in the decline, which king was in the revival. And it's interesting because sometimes it's a father and son thing.
Right.
Like the father was in the decline, but the children grew up, and when they became kings, then they have a revival. And this is related, will they follow or not the God of Israel?
Yes. And when we think about Israel, I have to observe this every time, is we think to ourselves, I would never be so unfaithful, so reckless like Israel, but it's the story of us and the story of our experience and our salvation.
That's right.
Just
and they were struggling with idolatry. So that's why decline and revival has to do with which God were they going to follow. And today's story is about King Ahaz, who was in the decline part of the chart.
Yes.
He was a bad king. He did not follow God. And so that's why I wanted to start in Second Chronicles chapter 28 to tell you a little bit of who this king was, what he was doing, how bad he was, that he was doing all the things that God had said not to do. So we're going to read Second Chronicles 28, 1-4.
Sure. Yeah. And we see that king, well, yes, I'll read, but we see that the king, he starts to reflect the kings of the nations around him.
Oh, yeah,
There's
very
no difference.
badly.
There's no difference. Okay. Reading from 28, 1-4.
Yeah.
Ahaz, pardon me, Ahaz was 22 years old. 20 years old when he became king. When he became king, and he reigned in Jerusalem 16 years. Unlike David, his father, he did not do what was right in the eyes of the Lord. He walked in the ways of the kings of Israel and also made cast idols for worshiping the Baals. He burned sacrifices in the valley of Ben-Hinnom and sacrificed his sons in fire, following the detestable ways of the nations the Lord had driven out before the Israelites. He offered sacrifices and burned incense at the high places, on the hilltops, and under every spreading tree.
Yeah, this is a king that has become pagan. He is sacrificing, and what's is interesting is that he's very religious, but not in the right place.
He is. It says worshiping here, under every spreading tree.
And something strange is that when there's a king that wins, and you can read it later on, if that king wins, he goes and says, okay, what was that God? I want to worship that God because, obviously he's very powerful. And if the other king wins, okay, I want to worship that God. He's not worshiping the God of Israel.
He's chasing little things. And we see a very different picture of this kind of king. He is thoughtless. He's wicked. Yeah. And if we compare it to, say, a king like Jehoshaphat, who was steady, who stood before the Lord.
And his son that will come up in our next program that is following the Lord again, because we have this decline, revival. Right. And you will be amazed at the fact that you know one verse of this story so well that you're going to say, I didn't know that was the story.
Yes. it's like hidden in here.
Yeah. So we're now going to go to Isaiah 7. We are with the same king that we just read about, but we're going to go to the prophet's viewpoint. And it's going to be an invitation to trust God. And so remember, this story is 2 Chronicles 28, 2 Kings 16, and now we're going to read it from Isaiah chapter 7, where we're going to study it, okay? All right, let's get started. Verse 1.
When Ahaz, son of Jotham, the son of Uzziah, was king of Judah, King Rezin of Aram and Pekah, son of Remaliah, king of Israel, marched up to fight against Jerusalem, but they could not overpower it.
And it's interesting because at this point we have the kingdom of Israel on the north and the kingdom of Judah on the south. They were supposed to be united. They were united under David and Solomon, but now they're warring against each other. And so we have the king of Aram and the king of Israel on the north. They decide to come and fight the south, the king of Judah. And it was reported, verse 2, to the house of David, which means the Judah section, the bottom, saying, the Arameans have camped in Ephraim. His heart and the hearts of his people, this is the king, shook. Look how scared they were.
Yes.
How did they shake?
They shook as the trees of the forest are shaken by the wind. Like, I think that's part of his personality because of the way he's worshiping, he's moving around. I get that picture of somebody who's frantic and now
yes,
legitimate fear.
Yes, they're so afraid of this coalition that has formed in the north that it says that they're shaking like the leaves of the trees shake.
And imagine his neighbor, like his sibling kingdom is the one coming and attacking him.
Yeah,
I would be afraid too.
That's right. And this is when we get today's drawing. So I'm going to bring the drawing that we have between us a little closer to you so that you can get to see it. We have the prophet Isaiah, who is coming with his son, which is interesting. We'll talk about it in a moment, to talk to the king, who happens to be in the conduit of the upper pool. And so in the background, you see an army coming towards them, which is the one that we just talked to you about. But the king is surveying the resource of water, because one problem that Jerusalem always had is that when they were under siege, they didn't have natural source of water. And so the main problem was always, okay, do we have enough water to stand the siege? So we usually, or sometimes we find the kings going to the upper pool to see, okay, how much water do we have? If we had to stand this for several years.
Even in the danger, they have to take care of their kingdom.
That's
most
right.
especially.
That's right.
Yeah.
So let's read it. We are in verse 3 now.
Then the Lord said to Isaiah, go out, you and your son, Shear-Jashub, to meet Ahaz at the end of the aqueduct of the upper pool, on the road to the washerman's field.
Okay, so here you have it. Yahweh, the Lord of Israel, of all of Israel, but in this case Judah, said to Isaiah, go out to meet the king, Ahaz, and your son. Don't forget your son. Take your son. This is a boy. Shear-Jashub. Why should he take the son? The children is usually not involved, right?
Tell us.
Yeah. So Shear-Jashub is a name that means a remnant will return. It's so important because Isaiah says, come, a remnant will return. Let's go to see the king. Because the message was, don't fear them.
Yes.
Don't fear them.
Yes.
Right? But the son is called a remnant will return. So know how the story ends. I already know how the story ends. A remnant will return to the city. And so that's part of the message, is to bring the son. And so this is the message, verse 4, if you want to read it.
Say to him, be careful, keep calm, and do not be afraid. Do not lose heart because of these two smoldering stubs of firewood, because of the fierce anger of Rezin and Aram, and of the son of Remaliah. That is some poetic language.
Yes,
that's some like biblical trash talk. These smoldering stubs of firewood.
I love the fact that God says, oh, you're afraid of those two kings? You know what they are to me?
Yes.
They're two, my version says, two stubs of smoldering firebrands. They're like nothing. Why would you be afraid of them? I am your God. I am with you. And I am your main resource. My presence is your main resource.
Yes. And you think that he shouldn't, you would think that because of his behavior, the way he's been, he doesn't deserve having the prophet comes, but God doesn't measure those things.
He offers his help. He offers his help.
And the king is looking everywhere else.
Everywhere else.
God is right there.
Doesn't that happen to us though? Sometimes we are looking in the wrong places.
Yes.
As a pastor, I have counseled many people that are looking for love in the wrong arms. Of people that are looking for, forgetting their problems in alcohol or drugs or whatever it may be. We look for peace and comfort in the wrong places. Yes. And we are needing, it's not just the good resources that we need. Sometimes we have bad resources. That's where we go when we are in trouble. I don't want to think about this. I had a heartbreak. Okay, I'll drink or I'll do that, all that.
Escape or Netflix or
Those
be on my
are all
phone.
Choices of resources. And God in his mercy meets us there and says, I want to help you.
Yes.
Would you let me help you?
Yes. Even though you're far, even though you've been looking everywhere else.
Yeah. Let me help you. And so here, God has quite a message for him.
Yes. Yeah.
Verse 7.
It says, yet this is what the sovereign Lord says. It will not take place.
Yeah.
It will not happen. Don't worry about this.
It shall not come to pass. What they want to do shall not come to pass. And he says, believe me. And at the end of verse 9, he says, if you will not believe me, you surely shall not stand. Believe what I'm saying. I am in control. And actually, there's a play on words on the Hebrew that is very interesting here. And he uses the same words. It would sound something like, if you don't believe my word will be established, you will not be established.
Wow.
You know, say like, believe me.
Yes. I'm here.
Yeah, I'm your God.
Yes, stand in this. If you don't stand, in my translation, if you don't stand firm in your faith, you will not stand at all.
Yeah, that's good. That's very good.
Powerful.
That's very good translation. And so Isaiah is saying, come on, ask the Lord, ask the Lord. He's offering you
yes,
help.
he's right here. I'm here. Let's go. What does he say? Ask the Lord your God for a sign, whether in the deepest depths or the highest heights. This is a blank check, an invitation.
Yeah, limitless sign. You can ask for you to know that the Lord
like Gideon, this fleece, that fleece,
yeah.
this
Ask for a
stream.
sign if you're afraid. And so we're going to stop now and listen to Isaiah as he's trying to convey the main resource to Ahaz is your God.
Oh, King, I know you're afraid. I know your heart is shaking like a leaf in the wind. But our God is so much greater than the two kings coming against you. If you only knew what he has said about them. He's called them two stumps of smoldering logs. They are burned out branches. They can't compete against the God of heaven. Our God is mighty to save. God wants to be your defender. He is your source of strength and power. You don't need to look anywhere else. Okay, don't be tempted to go making alliances to defend yourself. Because God is your strength. And he has already secured the outcome. He says to you, trust me, they won't prevail. God asked me to come here with my son, whose name means a remnant shall return, because that is God's promise for his people. He already knows the outcome. I know that you want to make sure you have enough resources to withstand the siege. But remember, King Ahaz, God is your source of everything. He's even offering you a sign. Ask for a sign, anything, as high as the heavens, as deep as the center of the earth. Ask anything. God wants you to be assured of his presence with you. O King, remember the words of the great King David. God makes his people strong. God gives his people peace. Therefore, stand firm in your faith in God, or you will not stand at all. Please, King Ahaz, trust in God. He is your source. He is your strength. He provides everything you need, and he knows the future. He is our God. We are his people. Do not go to other kings seeking strength for this battle. And have no fear, for God is with us. God is our refuge and strength, our present help in time of trouble.
Isaiah keeps thinking, please, please ask for a sign. God, the God of heaven, the creator of heaven and earth is offering you his help. Don't refuse it, right? So
anything you want.
Anything is a limitless offer.
Unbelievable.
Can you imagine? It's like God said, ask for anything you want. I mean, it's like,
I would be speechless for a minute, but I'd come up with things.
Yeah. So ask for a sign, verse 11. Let's read verse 11.
Ask the Lord your God for a sign, whether in the deepest depths or in the highest heights.
Yeah.
But
so
Ahaz says?
Ahaz says, no, thank you.
I,
But it sounds really pious,
It
but it's
does.
not.
I will not ask. I will not put the Lord my God to the test. But I have to say, my initial reaction when I read that is like, oh, it's so cringy and gross because that's not who he's been. He's all of a sudden sounding so
Not only that,
religious.
we know that he already has a plan
That's
of
right.
getting resources from somewhere else. See,
Yes.
Ahaz has decided, because, you know, Aram and the northern kingdom of Israel had gotten together to fight him. So he's going to ask for help from the king of Assyria, which is on the north and very powerful. And it's
Right.
like, I already have
Yeah.
some help. Thank you
This
so much.
King of Assyria is bigger than
than
God.
God.
Is that's what he's
And so he
believing.
says, I will not ask of any sign. I don't want to test the Lord. And you're going, yeah,
Oh
right.
my
You already
goodness.
have all these plans on the side.
Yeah.
And you have never been a real worshiper of Yahweh.
And this is something we do. I can't ask God for this. I can't ask God for these provisions.
Yeah.
I'll make my plans.
Yeah,
I'll
that's because
handle
we already
this.
have,
Yeah.
you know, all these things
Yeah.
going on. And he says, no, I'm not going to ask. And Isaiah is like, oh,
He gets
you know?
prophetically angry, I think.
Yeah, prophetically
like
angry.
Goodly angry.
You want to read verses 13 and 14?
Hear now, you house of David, exclamation mark. Is it not enough to try the patience of men? Will you try the patience of my God also? Therefore, the Lord himself. Wait, oh, something different here.
Yes, it's actually, he says, you don't want to ask for a sign? God is still going to give you a sign because he offered you help, and you will remember that he offered you help.
So here's the help.
And this is the verse you know,
Okay.
forever and ever and ever.
And
you have heard it. Maybe you didn't know this was a story.
Be surprised that this is this story. Therefore, the Lord himself will give you a sign. The virgin will be with child and will give birth to a son and will call him Emmanuel. So we're looking at King Ahaz, ground zero of disbelief, disobedience.
Yes.
He has become a pagan king, piously rejects a sign from God, and God says, I'm going to give you the sign of all signs.
I'm going to give you a sign that says a virgin shall have a child, and you will name him Emmanuel, which of course you know because of Christmas. Emmanuel means God with us. And is going to be the name that Matthew tells us that Jesus, God, Emmanuel, because he was God with us. And we're going to talk about that in a moment. But he came out in the middle of this crisis.
Unbelievable.
And actually, the ultimate fulfillment of this prophecy, Emmanuel, God with us, is Jesus, as we will see in a moment. But there was going to be an immediate fulfillment.
Thank you for clarifying that, because sometimes I don't know when I go back and forth, but there is still a fulfillment for them in this contemporary time.
Yeah, exactly. If you want to read 15 and 16.
So he will eat curds and honey when he knows enough to reject the wrong and choose the right. But before the boy knows enough to reject the wrong and choose the right, the land of the two kings you dread will be laid waste. Okay. So is this a narrow timeline now?
This is a child that would be born, and I wanted to tell you what a sign God was given. We don't know whose child was named Emmanuel at that moment, God with us, but this would be a child that would be born. Can you imagine? Some people say that maybe a lot of women had children that were born and they were called God with us. Mm-hmm. Some say that maybe it was Isaiah's own son that is coming up in chapter 8, God with us. But the truth is there would be a child whose name would be Emmanuel, God with us. And every time they changed him, they fed him, hey, God with us.
Yes.
I'm so happy. I'm so happy with you, God with us.
Yes. Burping him.
All the time, like God with
there,
us.
Present
constantly they were saying this, God is with us. He
Yes.
offered his help. And what is interesting about this is that the prophecy that you just read, verses 15 and 16, it says, this child won't be old enough to even be able to tell good and evil, 3, 4, 5 years old, to say, okay, that's good, that's evil. Before that, the land of these two kings of the north will already be taken. So God says, I know the future, and I'm going to give you a sign. It's going to be a child. But the ultimate fulfillment will be the Messiah who would come for you, even though you were rejecting the Lord, and he's coming with his presence, God with us.
So despite Ahaz's disobedience, God is still going to be protecting his nation.
In
this time?
At this time, he's only saying, you are going to, if you keep reading,
Yep.
it says, you're going to ask for help from Assyria. You don't know Assyria is not your friend.
No, they're not
Assyria
gonna
will
help you.
take over the north and eventually will come and conquer some cities of Judah later on.
Yes.
So Assyria is not your friend. You have the wrong resource. I'm your resource,
I'm your
says
resource.
God. But you're asking
Wow.
for resource over there. So it's not that he's protecting him. He's saying, I offered you my help.
Yes.
You don't know who you're getting together with.
Big help rejected.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, but we do have to go to the ultimate fulfillment
Yes.
of this prophecy, which is in Matthew chapter 1, verse 23. That's why you hear this exact citation of this prophecy during Christmas.
Yes.
Because the virgin should be with child. See, virgin in Hebrew, that name was a young woman about to be married. She will be married and will have a child. But of course, Matthew says, well, the ultimate fulfillment was that the real virgin, the one that
Right.
had not known a man, would conceive. And so here we have it, is verses 22 and 23.
All this took place to fulfill what the Lord had said through the prophet. The virgin will be with child and will give birth to a son, and they will call him Emmanuel, which means God with us.
Yeah, that's
Can
Matthew
I hold
1.
God with us? Are you
Yeah,
okay
you
with both
can-
hands?
Yes.
Careful.
Yes.
Careful.
So it says, well, there would one come who would be the savior of the world, who would come as the main resource of salvation, and then a real virgin. I'm going to read Matthew 1:21. She will bear a son, and you shall call his name Jesus. For he will save his people from their sins. Jesus means Yahweh saves, the Lord saves. Now, all this took place to fulfill what was spoken by the Lord through the prophet. That's in Isaiah 7. Behold, the virgin shall be with child and shall bear a son, and you shall call his name Emmanuel, which translated means God with us.
And here we see the connection that the battle is about our salvation.
Yes.
And that is already done.
Always. Yeah, see, every battle in the Old Testament was pointing to the ultimate battle of our salvation. So God with us is what God constantly offered in all the
Yes.
battles, even in the battle of resources. I am your main resource. Ask for whatever you want,
Yes.
and so that you know that I'm with you, right? But the ultimate battle is how are we going to be saved? And Matthew makes the connection. Remember that one battle? That was about the big battle of salvation,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
And Emmanuel would come, and I always get this amazing feeling that how Jesus, Emmanuel, God with us, went to the cross, and when he was dying, he said to God, why have you abandoned me? And this picture of God with us, why have you left me? Well, Jesus was abandoned so that you may never be. You have to remember that God with us came and died on the cross, purchased our salvation, so that you never have to go through your daily battles or your salvation battle thinking, I'm on my own. You are not on your own. You are never on your own. God's presence is always with you. Why? Because Jesus died in your place. Emmanuel died and was abandoned so that you may never be. So let's go back to that picture on the cross. God is our refuge and strength and ever-present help in time of trouble. Even the big storms of life, like the one on the picture that the ocean seems like it's going to be taking that lighthouse. Perhaps you're feeling that way today and you have no resources. And God says, I am your resource. Trust me. I am Emmanuel, God with you. I have purchased your salvation, and this battle that you're going through is mine.